Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 4th December 2017. The first article, Modi slams lack of democracy in Congress. Now let us see this article from the perspective of the nature of functioning of political parties in India. In India, political parties can be broadly divided into two categories: ideology based political parties and also leadership based political parties. The ideology based political parties generally run on the basis of the cadre, and the leadership based political parties they run on the charismatic leadership of the party. Now, if you talk about AIADMK in Tamil Nadu, it's a leadership based party. You talk about communists, BJP, these are cadre based parties. So, in this context, Congress is a mix of both. Congress ideology spreads from left, center to right. So, the Modi's criticism is like this: most of the political parties in India suffer from lack of internal democracy, and BJP is not an exception to this. But however, it is much worse in the case of the Congress. And second is the politics of Cherishma and Darshan, which Mr. and Miss Rudolph talks about, are prevalent across all the political parties. And third aspect over here is the lineage politics are very strong in the Congress system and also among the regional political parties. So these are the points which we need to take for the examination. The first phase of the Chabahar port opened. Now the Chabahar port, it is located in Iran. It is often cited as Indian project counter to the Gwadar port China is building in Pakistan along China-Pakistan economic corridor. What are the advantages of this Chabahar port? It provides India a connectivity to Central Asia and Afghanistan and from there to Russia. So it is providing an alternate access to the Afghanistan. And second aspect over here is this is strategically very important as it is an all-weather port. Here we need to understand some international politics. So initially Iran has agreed to offer Chabahar port only to India. But later it said that a global consortium or any other countries also can build the berth at the Chabahar port. So India wants to develop an alternate trade route to Afghanistan. In this process, trade and transit agreement was signed between Iran, Afghanistan and India. These are the points which we need to take home over here. Now let's come to the discussion on the editorial things. The first article is very beautiful thing about the judiciary. Now before starting the article, I want to make few statements to you. How an institution gains legitimacy in a democracy. Now, parliament, if you take, it gains legitimacy through the popular will or through voting. And second is, judiciary as an institution gains its legitimacy based on reason in its argument. So, any judgment shall be based on reason, and judiciary shall function in a transparent manner and also has to ensure the protection of rights of citizens. This brings in the legitimacy of the functioning of judiciary. So here, the article mainly focuses on the Supreme Court, High Courts and their gag orders. So as I made a statement to you, the rights, protection of the rights is an important responsibility of the courts in India. So, freedom of speech also includes freedom to publish. Freedom of speech also includes freedom of press. So, as a protector of the fundamental rights, the courts have to uphold this freedom of press. Now, freedom of press and freedom of speech, these are not absolute rights. There are certain regulations and conditionalities for these rights. What are they? Let me put it this way. One is freedom of speech is subjected to sedition laws and criminal defamation. Supreme Court has upheld these provisions of Indian Penal Code. And second, Supreme Court and other courts in India from time to time pass certain gag orders on the press not to report the proceedings of the trial. If you remember recently in Karnan case, Justice Karnan case, Supreme Court has given an order prohibiting all the papers or media not to report the trial or not to report the proceedings. So this kind of orders are placing restrictions and bringing in secrecy in the functioning of judiciary. But how shall we see it as? A person shall have a right to free trial and also a free speech. Most of the times in India, we suffer from media trial. It means media makes conclusions, yes, this is what happened. And media does its own trial and shams the individual, kills the lives of the individual. So, judges also may get influenced by this inappropriate reporting in media. And the second aspect is this. Today in India, the jury system is absent. If you go to United States of America, a judge can punish an individual based on the opinion rendered by the jury. So, a learned judge can get or resist himself from these news or media influences. But however, jury system may not resist it. But in India, as the jury system do not exist, the Supreme Court orders, gag orders are inappropriate. That is what is the argument made by the author over here. And now, a misleading hunger index. What does this mean? The Global Hunger Index, it was given by International Food Policy Research Institute. The latest report of 2017, it has placed India at the 100th position among 117 countries. Why? In India, child mortality, child undernourishment, these are rampant. So, this index majorly gives more than 70% of weightage to child wasting, stunting, malnutrition, and child mortality. So, as India is worst performing in these areas, it appears that India have the worst hunger in the world. You have to relate this topic to the issues of poverty and hunger in India. And then capturing the crime. So National Crime Records Bureau, every year it provides for certain data. In 2016 data, it was reflected that atrocities against the women are on rise in India. Or crime against the woman is on rise. What are the reasons? One is lack of gender sensitivity in policing, and also laws are biased against the women whenever there is an abuse of their rights. So, reforming the laws and criminal justice system, raising the sensitivity of the police to the gender issues is very much important. The nature of the crime the nature of the crime changes across the states in India. If you talk about Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, Devadasi system. If you go to the border states of Nepal, you have women trafficking. So in this context, the police have to be specifically trained in the nature of the crime particular to a given state. These are the points we can take home. Bit of a bubble. It is about cryptocurrencies. Understand these cryptocurrencies are based on blockchain technology. So, do some homework on what is blockchain technology. We can expect a question on this in prelims. So, cryptocurrencies bitcoins are a typical example to this. So, if I have invested in bitcoins, or if anyone have invested in bitcoins, they are giving a huge dividends to the investors to the tune of 1000%. What might be the reason for its random growth? So, it appears more like a bubble. The reasons are, any currency and its value depends on its acceptance in the market. Limited availability of this currency has made it to rise in its value. And second, across the countries, bitcoins are not accepted. Even in India today, bitcoins are not accepted as a trading currency. So, creation of a stateless currency is going to be a distant dream if you take the existing conditions. So the market value, or I can put it as the number of transactions happening in the market, open market using the bitcoins, according to Morgan Stanley, is virtually zero. That is the point we need to remember here. Now, the Brahmaputra issue. So, diversion of water from Brahmaputra by China is a bigger issue for India. The reason is Brahmaputra always carries surplus water, and India is trying to divert that water from Brahmaputra through interlinking of rivers. And China also wants to divert that water to Xinjiang province where there is severe water scarcity. In these circumstances, India China do not have any concrete agreement on Brahmaputra. What they have is just an MOU on water sharing. So, border dispute has overshadowed this particular water issue between the countries. It is not just from the water security perspective and also important from the national security perspective, because artificial lakes are formed because of the this particular geographical factors over there. So these can be breached and can it lead to flooding in the downstream areas. So India has to negotiate with China for a clear agreement on Brahmaputra. And Brahmaputra is also linked to Bangladesh. So India, Bangladesh and China, these are the beneficiaries. So in this context, China is willing to engage with Bangladesh but not with India. India has to be careful in this particular context. Now, disability rights over time. The physical disabilities, mental disabilities, so how a society treats them, that is going to reflect the nature of that particular society. So if you take India, yes, India is a signatory of UN Conventions on Persons with Disabilities. UN Convention on Persons with Disabilities, it clearly states that disabled persons are subjects with rights rather than objects of empathy. So they are the subjects, people with rights. So it means in treating the disabled persons, rights-based approach is necessary. So India has enacted a law in 2016 which is called Rights of the Disabled Persons Act. According to this, 5% of the reservations comes to them, and the number of disabilities have also increased. Definition of the disability has increased. So, in spite of this law, implementation is a major challenge. If you take about the employability of the disabled persons, more than 80% of the seats which are reserved for them are lying vacant. So, physical access, providing them for a livelihood, employability, these are the challenges which still are remaining. Now, let's come to the news page. Watch out for the ransomware in 2018. If you remember, WannaCry is a ransomware where the data is kept in control in return for a payment. So these kind of attacks are expected to increase as per McAfee security report. And Rawat leaves center red-faced. So again, in 2015, surgical strikes have happened across the Myanmar border to kill NSCN, terrorists. So in this context, the details of the operations are not disclosed. In a recent event, Mr. Rawat did that. Obviously, it is going to irritate the relations between India and Myanmar. And then it is called Operation Hot Pursuit. And first phase of the Chabahar part opened, which I already discussed to you. And in the last page, I gave you the notes, which we will be posting to you at laix.in/civilsprep. Thank you very much and all the best.